Hi, Michael Craig here. 6 steps to doubling your coaching income in 2 months. In a previous video, we went over step 1, which is know yourself. Today, I'm going to cover step 2, which is know your niche and your ideal client. Now, specifically, I'm going to get into what that means, and we're going to go into an example of what that means. So be prepared to spend a few minutes here, and let's get into it. Now, the main thing about knowing your niche and ideal client as step 2 is because if you have a specific product and service for a specific audience or niche, you have a much, much better chance of increasing your income and increasing your clientele. It's that simple. Quite frankly, people don't come to you just because you're a life coach. They come to you for reasons that they either know and trust you, and they've got a particular problem that they need solving, and you're going to help them solve that problem. So your niche is your specific area of focus within that particular market, and your ideal client would be someone looking to solve a problem in that niche who you can easily help. And I give the example of the health market. For example, if you're a diet coach or a personal trainer, you can help them realize specific goals. Now, let me pick on life coaches first, as I said, because Diane Conklin, who is a marketing expert, once told me, he says, if you're a life coach, the first point in selling yourself is to stop referring to yourself as a life coach. And she makes a great point. And that's mainly because it lacks specificity. A life coach does not really solve a particular problem, and I already mentioned this before. Now, if you're saying something like, I'm a life coach and I help people reach their goals and get where they want to be and that kind of stuff, it doesn't really mean anything. If you're talking in a group or a party or whatever, that's not going to attract much attention. People are going to look a little bored and possibly just go talk to someone else as soon as chance they have. Here's a conversation that I gave in the book, which is kind of an example of how you could approach this if you had a specific niche. Let's say there's a life coach in one part of the party holding his martini glass or whatever he's holding, and he gets it. So someone comes up and asks him, or maybe they get in a conversation. So what do you do? Which is what people usually ask. Well, I'm a life coach. Now, that's where he stops. In other words, he doesn't pursue the conversation. So someone would naturally ask, well, oh, really, what kind of coach naturally follows? And then what he does is what a really smart, savvy marketer or a smart coach might launch into is something like this. Have you ever noticed how some people have difficulty making small talk and conversation or get off on the wrong foot when it comes to telling people about their lives or what they do? This little conversation piece here. And the person might say something like, oh, well, you're talking to one. He says, I help them solve this problem. And the person says, wow, do you have a card? That would be a hypothetical conversation, but it's not far from the truth. In other words, if you solve a particular problem for the person standing in front of you, chances are they're at least going to be interested, if not ask for your card. So the few things about this is that the coach knows who he is and his specific niche. The coach is not addressing everyone, just those within that specific problem. If the person in front of you doesn't have that problem, then move on to the next person. Not everyone will have a problem like that. Also, this coach knows where to find his prospects, and they're the ones at the party looking a bit out of place. He's not selling. That's the fourth item. He holds back at each step, waits for them to come to him, and that's generally how you draw in the right people. Now, suppose someone doesn't come up to you and ask you that thing. Well, the point is they're probably not your client anyway. The bottom line is avoid going wide and go deep. These are the cardinal rules of selling, and they're the cardinal rules of coaching as well. And I call them the golden rule of niching. Go wide, or avoid going wide, go deep. Going wide means you're trying to be all things to all people. This approach only dilutes your message to the point where no one will hear you. Consequently, you will make a lot less money. Going wide strategy works if in the golden age of TV, or if you're harking, soap or something that has mass appeal. In today's market, however, if you're going to sell yourself as a coach, you have to use what is called pull advertising. In other words, let them come to you. Going deep means that you're approaching a specific audience or allowing them to see your ad or your article or your video or whatever it is you have out there, which allows them to respond to that, because what you're doing solves a specific problem for a specific niche, and you have a specific solution. And by doing this, your prospect will feel like you're speaking directly to him or her, your prospect will feel like you understand his or her problem, and your prospect will want to learn more and possibly hire you. That's the key to getting hired. Now, I use the example in my book, 6 Steps to Doubling Your Coaching Income in 2 months, potty training. Now, there are no real buyers out there looking to pay coaches on potty training. I just use this as an example primarily because a friend of mine, Damon Green, has written a book on keyword research, and he uses that as an example in his book. And so because I sort of lifted some of that, I borrowed some of his examples. So nevertheless, here it is, keyword, in his course called Niche Keyword ATM, he says that you can use Google search. And a lot of people use Google search by typing in keywords and looking to see what's on the front page or whatever, first page of Google. You can also use keyword search, Google search, by simply finding the buyer keywords. Now, how do you find buyer keywords unless you have some expensive software to look that up? Let's just say you go to a website, startpottytraining.com. I'm just picking out a site here that has specifically to do with that particular niche. Now, on there, you're going to be looking for some keywords that you find on the site. Start potty training, how to potty train a girl, potty train a boy, etc. Now, to find the buyer keywords, what you do is you plug those keywords into Google, or let's just say you're looking for the Google, the words. You type them into Google. What will happen is that you're going to start getting some words coming down below that term that you just typed in, and this is called Google Suggestions. And you'll see it something like this. If you typed in start potty training, down below you will see some suggestions. Start potty training Carol Klein, start potty training methods, start potty training reviews, etc., etc., etc. Guess what? These are all intention keywords. In other words, people have typed these words in to look for that specific keyword or look for that specific term. So the beauty of Google Suggests is that it displays keywords that are most often typed in Google when your audience is looking for those particular keywords. And in fact, Google is telling you exactly what people want and how they're searching for it. So there's ways of speeding this up, however. Now, looking for keyword modifiers. Keyword modifiers, you can get even closer to the buyer intent. For example, in potty training niche, it would look something like this. When do I potty train? In other words, you're crunching it on down. You're finding out specific items to your keyword that may apply to your particular niche. Now, there's a tool that you can use which is free, and you can find it at ubersuggest.org. That's www.ubersuggest.org. Ubersuggest is online software that instantly takes all the suggestions in Google Suggest and puts them into one place, and this will save you a lot of time. Some other tools that you can use are suggester.promediacorp.com. That's Damon's second favorite. And you can also use keywordbuzz.net. Each of these tools, by the way, are very powerful to help you crunch down your keywords and find specifically who your buyers are and who can help you with that particular niche. In this particular keyword, start potty training, Ubersuggest came back with several suggestions. In fact, 122 results, and you can find them based on by the alphabet, A through Z. So the main reason it's the best, Ubersuggest is the best, is because it allows you to easily separate the return suggested keywords in alphabetical order. That's an important consideration in compiling and exporting your keywords later. You can export these keywords as an Excel file or a list. Also, Ubersuggest has a feature that allows you to dig deeper, and it has to do with, oops, we're getting ahead of ourselves here. It has to do with clicking on the plus sign. You'll get a plus feature, a plus sign with each keyword, and will help you crunch it on down to a treasure trove of keywords that you can use to find your particular niche and or your client needs. So once you have the keywords, you're ready to launch your ad campaign and other means to capture leads. And we're going to go over that in step 3. So next time in step 3, we're going to talk about your ethical bribe or your free offer. This is Dr. Michael Craig. Thanks for joining me.